So we're going to go through flow series, which means you're going to be linking exercises together into a progression. This is kind of like breakdance fighting. So the first thing that we're going to work on is a seated rotation series. Now what we can do is make this very low threshold or very high threshold depending on what we're accomplishing. We're going to start low threshold and just kind of work through the steps. So everyone start in that seated rotation position that we were in earlier. So down, hands and knees, sitting on your bum with your feet out in front of you. And we're just going to start with rotating to the side. Okay, so we're going to do low threshold, don't work on a high tension or anything, and we're just going to go back and forth. So this is step one of this series. Now, you might have some clients who can't get further than this. That's fine. You work with what they're able to give you. If they can go further, what you're going to do is from that shin box position, press up, and then try to get hip extension from that back leg. So now we're in an off-axis position where we have externally rotated, internally rotated, hip extended, and then you can come back down, rotate to the other side, and press up. Okay, so this is step two. We're just getting into hip extension. So do about 2 or 3 of those where you rotate around and then drive up, just to see how you're holding out. Good. Getting you loosey-goosey after all the lunch. Now, you have to kind of self-regulate with this. If you get to a point where it starts hurting or if you just can't get through it, that's fine. You don't go further than that. You just kind of use what you have the ability to do. I don't want to have anyone hurting themselves while they're in there. This may not seem like that much, but joint positions are new for a lot of people, so there is the potential that there might be some injury with this. Self-police yourself and say, I don't want to go any further than that. So from here, what we're going to do is get that rotation up, and then this back leg, you're going to stride forward into a lunge. From here, you remember that true hip flexor stretch Tony was working on yesterday? You're going to tuck your tailbone and lean into it to get that true hip flexor stretch on the down knee. So everyone's getting that hip flexor stretch? Good. So now that leg that you strided forward with, stride back into that both knees on the floor position, and then drop your bum down, and then rotate to the other side. So you're not coming up just yet. You're just keeping the knee on the ground to start. Yeah. So now that we've got that going, we're going to add one more level to it. So that's step 3 is getting into that lunge position. So now we're going to go from that seated position, turn to the side, whatever side you want to do, go up into that tall kneeling position, half kneeling position. Now a key on this is make sure that whatever foot strides forward is fairly close to the knee. You're going to pivot your back foot and wind up in a deep squat. Okay? And then you're going to pivot that knee back down and then go back into the system the way that you just had. Okay? So go through it where you rotate, come up, tall kneeling, stride, keep your foot close to your knee, pivot the back foot until you're in a squat, and then that knee that just pivoted up, pivot it back down. So when I'm talking a flow series, the whole key on this is to make it so that it's not like bang, bang, bang. Like you want to make it smooth and fluid so that there's no real stopping point, starting point, or break point. It's just controlled motion through that entire range. We can start beatboxing if you want to. So
you can use their hands if they don't have the
if they need to, yeah.
Or the flexibility.
They also don't have to progress all the way up to the squat position. If you want to just do seated rotations and that's effective, keep it there. So work on that just a couple more times. Work on the smooth fluidity of the motion. This is easy stuff. So now, if you wanted to add new elements to that, you absolutely can. You want to do a reach with an arm or do like thoracic mobility, you can do that entirely. Like this is just a template to show you some cool stuff. If you want to add to it, you absolutely can. So now let's work on a bit more of a high threshold strategy with this one. So we just did low threshold, so let's start working on tension development in each position. So when you go from here and rotate and come up, squeeze hard, get really tight into it, then up, tense, 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 and then you get into that squat, drive the knees apart, push into it. So work on creating high tension, high threshold strategies in each of those positions. So do 2 breaths in each position. And try to get harder contractions all the way through. So remember when we were doing that 90-90 hip switch earlier where you have both knees on the ground and you do that high threshold pass? You could do that here too. That was a version of this one. So you can work on from that seated shin box facing one way, high tension rotation towards the other side, and then go up from that. One pass through that series left and right, you're toasty. So from there we can also do something similar but in a pigeon position. I'm just going to steal this one. So pigeon, we did that earlier. From here, so you work on getting that high tension position if you can, or if you don't want to, that's fine, but you can just be here. From there, you can come up half kneeling. So now we're stretching out the anterior component of the hip. We stride back, stretching out the posterior component. We can make like a two-step stretch. And then if we wanted to, we could even go from here into that squat pattern and back into the pigeon. So you can take it however you want to go. So try pigeon to half kneeling to deep squat. All right, how's that feeling for you? Good. So now let's work on some terminal range contractions, and then we'll get into doing some swing work. So let's say we want to get into working hamstrings or working hip flexors or working glutes or anything like that, but we want to get into a range of motion that we're not comfortable with or that we don't normally access. We can do it from something like this. What's one of the purposes of the hamstring? Or actually, what's the two purposes of the hamstring? Hip extension and knee flexion, right? So in this position, am I in hip extension? Relative, yes. And then what do I need to do? Knee flexion. So I can brace the abs, brace, get tall and strong, and then try to bring the heel to the butt as high as I can, working on trying to create that range of motion as tight as possible. Now, if that's too easy, or if you find that you're not able to contract it well enough, contract harder. That's the first way. Then another way is grab the heel, bring it to your butt, and very much like we were doing with the active hip flexion earlier today, you brace and slowly tense the hamstring so that when you release, it just stays put. Okay, so just try doing that, and if it cramps on you, walk it off, and we'll figure out how to put it back together. Brace and own that position. So just start with the knee on the ground and then lift the foot, put it back down, hold for like a 2-breath count, but the goal is to get your heel to touch your butt. If you need mats, you need mats. Great range. So once you've done from the floor, lifting up a couple of times, try to grab the heel, bring it to your butt and move. Yeah, I get that all the time too, it's fun. So keep your heel on your butt, slowly release tension, and then I want you to own that position until it doesn't drop any further. So now that you've done that, what I want you to do is switch sides, and we're going to do a 5-breath hold at 100% on your other leg. So we're going to do, to start with, you're just going to do a 2-breath hold just to figure out position. Let it go, and then I want you to do a 5-breath hold at 100% effort to see if you can actually get into it. If you cramp, walk it off, but we'll see what you can do. Switch legs. Yeah, we're going to do 2. One is kind of like just a warm-up rep, and then the other one is the high-tension one where you just own that position all that you can. The first one, you're probably going to cramp up because it's novel. Second one, go for it. Okay, switch legs. So start about 50, 60%. Make sure you can control it for about 2 or 3 breaths. Yeah, not yet. The second one you will. Second one you will, yeah. Okay. So then on the second one, grab the heel, bring it to your butt. Get braced through the core first. Slowly ramp up the tension to the point where you can let your hand off your foot and then keep that position. Again, this is FRC type stuff. This is intense control over your range of motion. Yeah. And we got a 5-breath hold at 100%. 5 breaths. Make it happen. Yeah.
I can't make you keep it up.
He's got it. There we go. We found a way to train you. Keep it working. 100%. Good. Nicely done. But you can see the novelty when the first body's reaction is to cramp immediately. It's a reflexive cramp. As you do 2 or 3 reps, it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. It doesn't cramp as often. But if you miss position, it's going to cramp on you again. So you got to learn how to own that position. So stand, walk it off, shake it out. So that's simple with just a hamstring. What else can we do?
Hip flexor.
We can do hip flexors. Tony knows what's up. So to start, we're just going to do supported on a wall. So all I want you to do here is start standing nice and tall, brace your abs, and you're going to drive your knee into hip flexion as high as you can and work on trying to get higher into hip flexion without bending the knee that you're standing on or rounding your back. Brace the abs tight, and it's only hip flexion that you're allowed to have. Okay? So start with just hip flexion. We got AC kicked back on in here, folks. We're good to go. Now, if this is starting to get too easy for you, or you're like, oh, this is easy stuff, I don't want to do it, it's not even giving me any benefit, go into a kneeling position, get braced, and try to do it without feedback coming from your feet. You might need to use your hands once in a while, but the goal is to do it as much as you can without using your foot. Challenge, absolutely. So now let's start working on some rotational stuff back down on the ground. We kind of stood up, and now we're going to go back down just to adjust things. So everyone get back down in that 90-90 position. So earlier we were working on Pigeon, we were working on 90-90, we were working on seated rotation, all that kind of stuff. That last one that we did from the kneeling position, we can do a variation of that from this position as well. I'm just going to give my hip a break. Last couple of times I've taught this workshop, I kind of go on the other side, and I can't sleep for 3 days because my hip is so sore. So that gives you an idea of what you guys are in for. So from this position here, what I want you to try is you're going to face forward over top of this shin in the front, get as tall as you can. So you're going to feel obliques, QL, all the kind of muscles in through here working really hard. Brace, and then I want you to create tension like you're trying to lift your foot off the ground on that back side. You're going to go internal rotation. If you can't lift it up like I can't, that's fine, but you just kind of get that tension development. Okay, you're going to feel a lot of tension going through here. And breathe, breathe, breathe. Now, from there, let's add a layer. Let's start making this into more of a flow. Lift the knee off the floor and keep the foot parallel. Okay, back down with the knee, back down with the foot. Get up nice and tall. If it cramps, stretch it out. Okay, let's do it again. Foot up, brace, lean, lift the knee if you can. And then from there, straighten the knee out. And then bend the knee down to the floor, foot down to the floor. You can see my range improved on that one, so you guys should be getting a little bit better with it too. So far we've done 3 steps on that. We did a foot up, we did a knee up, and then a knee straight. Now we're going to do a hip rotation to add in on top of that. So we're going to go foot up, brace, breathe, knee up, brace, breathe, straighten the knee, swing around into the front, both sit bones down, chest up, knee up to your chest. Pull the knee up to your face as hard as you can. Pull, pull, pull. Swing that leg right back around, kick it out to the side, bend the knee to the floor first, and then foot to the floor. So now we're working hip rotation from that 90-90 position, that seated rotation position, but we can isolate one side at a time, just what that range of motion is available to do. So I want you to try that 3 times on each side. Go light, go easy, do what you can with it, and then we're going to start playing with some fun alternatives.